and happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Pitchlight Chronicles. I'm Uncle Tats. I'm here with Donald. And Donald, our brilliant GM, just continues to put his foot in his fucking mouth. What is wrong with this guy? He is out for everybody. He is. He's relentless. We all know. Look, did he say anything that was wrong? No. We all agree. Stanton is a broken player, right? We know that he's not a guy that's going to give you 150 games a year. We all know that. Why are you throwing more dirt on this guy after all the shit that he's been taking? You know, and this is the one guy that has actually held himself accountable on a team where nobody's held accountable. That's your target? The optic was just terrible. Terrible. And not only that, it came out rather quickly. He's got the same agent as Yamamoto. So now he's pissing off the agents, he's pissing off the reporters, he's been pissing off the fans for 25 years. The only one that still likes him is the owner because he makes some money.
And Aaron Boone.
What's next? What I'm actually afraid to ask what's next. But Donald, when you saw that, when you saw it come out yesterday with Cashman and Stanton, I hope you were as pissed off as I was.
Yeah, he's a dick. It's as simple as that. He is a dick. But what he said wasn't wrong. But there's ways in which you can be smart about this. And he wasn't smart. And that's not something that Brian Cashman normally doesn't. Normally, he's a lot smarter. He's a lot more political. This was not political, I don't think. I think it was just like he's now just like his back is against the wall and he's just firing. And everyone is in the firing line. That's kind of what I'm getting from it. But it wasn't smart because it has, bigger ramifications because Wolf, the GM of Yamamoto, is also the representative of Stanton, and it's a bad look. Why put yourself on the back foot in any way? Why would you even raise any kind of a question? But let me say this. I don't think it'll have anything to do with the negotiation of Yamamoto. I really don't. I think Wolf will just mean he'll just ask Cashman to pony up, right? But does it help with the negotiations? No, it can't possibly help, right? So it's dumb. It's kind of dumb. And as for Stanton, kind of a bad look. I mean, Stanton has always held himself accountable, and he's a good dude. He works incredibly hard. Unfortunately, he gets hurt all the time, right? But it's not like he's doing it deliberately, right? He's getting hurt, and it's frustrating him. But the way that Cashman talked was like that Stanton does that deliberately. You know what I mean? Oh, it's part of his game. It's not really part of his game. He just, it's unfortunately his body breaks down, right? I think there was a ways in which he could have gone about it, in which he could have made it clear that Stanton needs to improve his health, but also not come across so arrogant and defensive. He could have just simply shut it down by saying, yeah, he's getting hurt a lot, but it's up to us to do a better job of making sure that he's available, and we will investigate any way in which we can improve that and try and get him on the field more, because when he's on the field, he's productive. That's all you have to say. Bish, bash, bosh, move on, right? But no, he's not doing that. And that's what's concerning me. Cashman's coming across incredibly defensive, and it gives off the wrong impression, or maybe that's the impression that's actually accurate, but it's given off the impression to us and to the media, to other organizations, and to other agents that the Yankees are desperate. That's what it comes across as. I'm desperate, and I'm in defense mode, and I'm firing, and everyone's in my firing line in order to protect my ass. That's what it's coming across as, right? And that's what the air you need to give off as a professional organization. You need to give off the air that everything is planned, that you're in complete control of every situation. So your media appearance, you need to be in control. The way that you discuss players, current players, and ex-players, you need to be in control. That's the organization. That's what I'd expect from my organization. You can't give off the impression that you're a little bit like, everyone's coming after me, right? Everyone's in the firing line. Fuck all you guys. That's not a good impression to give. It's the wrong impression to give. It's defensive, it's aggressive, and it's not accountable. And it's a bad look. It's a bad look. Again, once again, say he didn't say anything wrong. The way he said it was stupid. And although it won't change the fact that if Yamamoto wants to become a Yankee, Wolf is not going to step in and say, you're not becoming a Yankee. He's going to become a Yankee. But it doesn't help the negotiations, right? It just doesn't. It's just like, it means that maybe Cashman might need to pay a little bit more. Or maybe Cashman needs to try and make amends going, whatever I said about Stanton doesn't have anything to do with your current client, Yamamoto. Whatever it is, it's just not a good look. It puts you on the back foot. I don't know why you did that.
What the problem is really, we've also, I've said it on the show. I've said it to friends. I've said it to guys that work, under me at work. My own kid. It's not what you say; it's how you say it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? If he would have just says, "Look, in regards with Stanton, with the health concerns, we're going to be reevaluating his role in the organization." That's it. And the fans would be like, "Good, about time. Stop trying to force him down our throat. If he needs to take a part-time role for the time being, we get it. We welcome that. It's right out the hot streaks. Be very cautious with him when he goes cold. It's that simple. It's the arrogance of, it was almost like, well, it's not my problem. What's going on? Daryl, welcome to the channel, to the stream. He's got to watch what he says. He really does. So,
he does. He needs to watch what he says. And again, there's smart ways in which you can go about it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, right? Here's another aspect to it. He's so unaccountable of himself, right? The way he talked about Stanton was quite disrespectful in the sense that Cashman spoke as if he inherited Stanton's contract.
That was going to be my next point.
It kind of talks as if, oh, well, I'm stuck with this guy. Dude, you made the deal. You made that trade. You willingly took on those years, right? You can't then just kind of come across that, hey, man, I'm just having to lie in this situation. I didn't have anything to do with that. Yeah. I'm just trying to make it work, right? As part of his game, he's always getting hurt. What can I do, right? Bro, you made that trade. You have to become accountable, right? If you make that trade, you have to own that trade. Now, that's why he had to be smart and political about it, right?
Yeah.
And not just throw Stanton under the bus because you made that trade. You inherited those years. You inherited that contract. You tied yourself to a DH to the year 2027, 2028, and with no fallback plan, right? He's the one that willingly made that deal, right? And I'm a big Stanton supporter. I love Big G, right? Of course. But let's be honest here. Cashman made that deal. So he's got to own it. And the other thing is, didn't he just wax lyrical about Josh Donaldson? I mean, he made that deal for Josh Donaldson. Josh Donaldson's trade was much worse than Stanton's trade, right?
Oh, yeah.
In every conceivable way, there was no upside to acquiring Josh Donaldson. It was a complete disaster. It was a burning freaking trash can, right, of shit in his fucking living room. He made that trade, right? But once again, he doubled down on Josh Donaldson. He doubles down on him. Oh, he was blogging, Peraza. What am I going to do? Play Peraza over Josh Donaldson? No. Josh Donaldson's great. What a great trade. He's fantastic. If you don't think so, you're an idiot, right? That kind of shit, right? You double down, treble down, quadruple down on Josh Donaldson for the time that he was here. He was worse than Stanton. Much worse, right?
Yeah.
So it just seems like he picks and chooses who he wants to be holding accountable. And that's another aspect of it, Brian Cashman, which I have no time for. You have to hold everybody accountable. You have to be accountable across the board, right? That's what he has to be, but he doesn't. He picks and chooses who he wants to go after, right? Because he's defensive. And when you have a defensive general manager, you're going to make bad decisions. And you're going to come across arrogant. You're going to come across like you're going to willingly throw everyone or anyone under the bus to protect your own skin, right? And the funny thing is, he's not protecting his skin in order to get fired, in order to protect himself from being fired. He's just protecting his own skin just in general because of his own ego. Hal Steinbrenner has given him free reign to run this organization into the ground, right? And he's paying him handsomely to do so. And Cashman's willingly doing it, right? So there's no worries there about losing his job. It's just about his own ego. He can't handle the fact that things are going wrong with the Yankees, and it's all coming on him, and he ain't having it. So he's letting everybody have it. He's letting it rip, right? Joel Sherman going after him. The fans going after the fans. You're all idiots, right? None of you know your shit, right? Ex-players, fuck them. Stan's hurt, fuck him, right? Everybody, and it's just like bang, bang, bang. Which excuse am I going to use next? Which person am I going to throw under the bus next to protect my own ego? And that is a horrible look. This is an organization, it's a professional organization. It's an important organization that means a lot to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And I know that the Yankees themselves hold their brand very, very, very dear to their heart. It's a horrible look that your general manager basically is willing to throw everyone and anyone under the bus to try and make himself look better. Terrible, terrible look.
It's all right. Before I respond, I want to thank everybody that's hanging out in the chat. We're going to do our roll call in a second. We appreciate everybody. If you notice, there's this new thing that's going on the YouTube stream. On the bottom corner, you'll see that little heart. Smack the shit out of it. It helps, helps with the. It's a new way to help with the algorithm and get the video out there. Also, hit that like button. That always helps. And subscribe. We are still 16 away from 400. We are gold.
More subs before the end of this podcast.
Yep. So we always appreciate that. And Donald, before you do your infamous roll call, what I will say is what really made me. I'm not mad that Cashman said what he said. Like we also, he didn't. There was, that meme that's always put out there. No lies detected. Of all the guys that have underperformed in that locker room, the guy that holds himself the most accountable was your target. That's what aggravated me. Not so much what he said. Not so much his honesty about Stanton's role going forward. But of all the players to put in the forefront to criticize, the guy that holds himself accountable, never hides from the media, acknowledge it, that says, look, if I don't want to get booed, I got to play better. It's that was your target. That's what really got me the most aggravated. You could pull anybody out of there. Where was the public trashing of Frazier and his underperforming with his legendary bat speed? Where was the criticisms for him publicly? Well, Sanchez is an even better example. Where was the public outcry about him? No, but we're going to pick on the guy that actually, wants to be a long-term contributor to this organization, never shies away from the media, acknowledges that these are, that we are the best fans in sports, always makes sure that he gives everything he physically can to put his best performance out there. I can't believe that was the target. We can go through 25 years of guys that have just shit the bed and just been like, well, fuck you, pay me. Where Stanton's like, no, I got to improve. I got to work on things. But, Donald, it is time. Let's get that roll call out, buddy.
Let's go up from the start. Here we go. We got Stevie B. Stevie B, what up? We got Chris from the upper deck. Good morning, Chris from the upper deck. Damien, good morning, Damien. NFE, what up, NFE? You the man. Brad, what up? Uncle Tats and his regularly scheduled technical issues. This time there was no technical issues. Me and him were just shooting the shit. We were just shooting the shit. So that's on both of us. We got Dev. Of course, we got Dev. Salute. What up? We got D-Rod. And D-Rod is all about the romance here because he's saying here, tats are romantic. And NFE jumps in, D-Rod, you're all about the romance.
Yep.
So, I don't think Uncle Tats is interested in you romantically, D-Rod, I'm afraid. Damien, what have we got here? Not for nothing, how dare Hal for supporting the nonsense of Cashman. That was a smack in the face of the fans, and more importantly, George and what he built and the meaning of the Yankee way. Salute. You are getting a star for that, my guy. Sunil in the chat. Yo, sup, gentlemen. Sup, Sunil. We got Spence. Hey, this love is fun. Amen. We got Chris. Hope Stan gets pissed off, waves his no trade gloves and leaves. Chris is going in hard. But isn't that playing into Stanton's? Isn't that playing into Cashman's narrative? We got my agent in chief, MH. Salute, MH. It's good to see you again. I've seen you in a little while. We got Medina. And what have we got here? How about 200-year-old Uncle Grandpa Tats? Uncle Grandpa Tats is going on strong at 200, and he's still getting fired up about Brian Cashman. Stanton is right here. Stanton is more professional than Cashman ever was. I completely co-sign on that.
I like that comment.
I definitely will like that comment. Donald gets Yankee chronological extension for 2024 season. I think I've earned that. Blue Gold. Good to see Blue Gold in the chat. How co-sign Cashman's behavior crazy. Shake my head. It's so good to see everyone in the chat. What's it? Always NFE. You should try the risotto I make. I call it the panty dropper. Damn.
Well, we're going there already, huh?
What up, D-Rod? Is that your secret sauce? Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty damn good. I like the sound of that. As we just sup. What up, my guy? What up? And players trash, front office media, their heroes, brave, stand up, guys. Yeah. So brilliant chat. I'm loving this chat. This is awesome. And
that's so
So let's get back to Mr. Brian Cashman. First of all, Chris goes after Stanton here. She's wanting him to waive his no trade clause. Tats, what do you think about that?
For the sake of the youth that's coming up and the money that's being paid to Stanton, although the Marlins do cover a portion of it, actually, I think this season, is the only year of his contract that the Marlins don't contribute. I don't know how that worked its way in there. That might have to be a real deeper dive. If he waives his no trade clause, I'm not going to cry about it. We need to, we need to make sure that if Judge does, if we want to get Judge off the field for a day, whether it's, with the Blue Jays, with the turf, having a DH spot available for him, I'm not opposed to that. But when Stanton gets hot, he can carry a club. He can carry the team, no problem. I still believe that he's a feared hitter because you don't want to throw that one pitch that gets him right. Because once he gets into his rhythm, it takes it usually lingers. I don't know, because I like Stanton. I think it's the Yankees that fucked him up. We've said this for 4 years. The Yankees put out the narrative for a guy that they traded for that he's not an outfielder.
True.
After coming from the National League where there was no DH.
Again, they're talking as if they've
inherited. And then automatically was like, their first injury, all right, bubble rat, wrap him up, don't let him play. Let's limit every skill set he has, and the fans will understand. We know what we're doing. I'm Brian Cashman. I'm the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah.
You're a fucking idiot.
Yep.
You ruin this player. I feel like I'm on repeat all the time when it comes to
Stanton. I know we repeat the same thing all the time. Me, you, and Rob, we always say the same thing. Stanton is a far more productive hitter when he's in the outfield. That's a fact. Stanton struggles to be a DH, to get up and stand and swing a bat 4 times a game and then sit back down again is doing him no favors, right? And guess who's saying that? And it's not us, and it's not every other podcast in the world, and it's not just the statistics. Aaron Judge said it. Aaron Judge said it recently. He said Stanton prefers to play in the outfield. That seems to be the best use of him, right? Because I think it has something to do with his muscles being active and being out there and he being locked into the game. He sees the game better when he's part of it. And that just seems to be what the situation is. Now, can the Yankees afford to have him play the outfield? Probably not. Not every day, but you can make it work 3 times a week, something like that. You need to get him in a rhythm where he's regularly involved and invested in the game. I think that's something like that. But whatever it is, they need to do something about his health. But again, Cashman talks as if he inherited the contract. He didn't inherit the contract. He traded for the contract. Right? Yeah. So why are you limiting one of your best assets? I mean, on paper, he is your second best bat. Whether Cashman likes it or not, that's the reality, right? You need to talk up your guy, right? You need to try and defend your guy. You need to try and make him feel like he is part of something big and special. But Cashman shat all over him. And I don't know what he's trying to achieve by that. I really don't.
Yeah. And, Chris mentioned, go get Soto. No one's going to miss Stanton, right? I wouldn't miss him if they traded him. I'm not making a case for them to keep him. We've been trying for 4 years to make a case for them to utilize him better. That's really what it boils down to. They misused him terribly. They never read the room right with him. If we would have found out years later, or with that Stanton deal, right? Let's go back in time for a second. We find out in 2018 that the Yankees had the chance to get Stanton for Castro and a prospect or two. And they said no. we'd be fucking livid. How do you not take that? How do you not make that deal? It's Giancarlo Stanton. He just won the MVP in the National League. How did you not get that guy? We'd be pissed. You can't hate a deal like I was all for getting Stanton. I'm going to speak for myself. Right? I'm not going to put words in anybody's mouth. I'm not going to try to imitate anybody's impression of him. I was jumping for joy when they made that trade. My boss at the time, who was a Mets fan, said that MLB should stop the trade. Why do they allow the Yankees to make such an easy trade? This was from a Mets fan who wanted Stanton that badly. He thought MLB should stop the trade. It doesn't make sense, guys. Make it make sense.
Exactly.
In that moment, we would have been pissed if Cashman passed that up. And he would have just been another name along with Machado, Cliff Lee, Harper. He would have just been another name on that list. Miguel Cabrera. He would have been another name on that list that Cashman didn't even try to get.
We can't play Monday morning quarterback and say, oh, we should never have made that deal for Stanton because it was a no-brainer at the time. The Marlins were willing to eat portion of his contract, and all it costed us was Castro. If you don't make that trade, you're out of your mind. I'm sorry. It was a steal of a deal, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of it.
And the Marlins are paying $10 million, paying the Yankees $10 million a year on his contract.
And there's a lot of different aspects to this. Like, as a fan base, we haven't been good to Stanton. Right? Now, I can count myself out of this conversation, but a lot of fans booed him. He hit a home run on his very first game as a Yankee, right? But then the next day he struck out like 4 times or something like that, and he got booed mercilessly. I mean, was it called for? Probably not. I don't think so. I think Yankee fans were too harsh on Stanton, right? But it never changed the way Stanton's approach was, man. He was always accountable, and he always said the same shit. If you played like shit, he would say, I played like shit. I got to be better. I like that, right? But there's a comment I really liked that Sunil says here, and I think there's an aspect to the Yankees here. I think the Yankees have screwed up Stanton as much as Stanton's just been injured. If they let Stanton go and then watch them fuck up Soto by using him as a DH regularly, as they did with Stanton, it's not all on the player as much as the supporting coaching staff. Salute, salute, salute. He's spot on. You cannot convince me that the Yankees have not made this situation worse with Stanton. Because, and here's what we're talking about here, where Cashman needs to be accountable in regards to everyone, right? This Yankee team is one of the most injured teams I've ever come across. It is incredibly injured team, and this falls on the medical staff, the training staff, all of that. And the fact that he's now just holding Stanton accountable for that, well, why don't you hold everybody accountable for that? And also, why are you resting everybody for no reason? Just random. And how does that help? Because I'm looking at the numbers. What is the proof? Resting people for no reason, just on a random scheduled rest day, actually help them. Because you look at our injured record, is terrible. Right? So why don't we stop this? Arrest you for no reason. You're definitely going to get arrested tomorrow. And the whole once a week thing, and I don't think it works. Right? And I think we take advantage of what Stanton's hot. Play him.
You got an echo on your mic there, buddy.
Yeah.
But no, it's a narrative of, it's the old shoulda, coulda, woulda. That's why I like this comment here from, where was it? FE, right? The FJ. Goes, if the Yankees could screw up an NL MVP, imagine what they would have done to Machado or Harper. It goes along the same way in LA. And what's going on in LA? and he's been saying this, I think, all season. Let's watch Stanton go to the Dodgers to become a right-handed Kyle Schwarber. If it frees up the option to go and get younger players that are more athletic, let him go and be a Kyle Schwarber somewhere. I'm not saying that the Yankees, I'll be mad if they traded him. I wouldn't. I'm just venting about how our GM made a trade for a guy, mishandled his playing time, and then throws him under the bus. That sums it up. That's what he did.
True.
And like I said earlier, the one guy that's actually held himself accountable, who's never hidden, never with his, avoided the media with his tail between his legs for striking out 7 times in a game. He always gave the media their time. But let's shit on that guy. That's where I'm aggravated. I think that Stanton is owed an apology from Cashman. I think that he deserves an apology.
Exactly. You can't do this. You can't treat people like this.
No. It's this comment here from Macerino here. Turned him into a full-time DH when he came from playing 150 games average for the Marlins. Yep. Do you think that? What do you think our reaction would have been when Harper had to go for his surgery if he was a Yankee? Another injured player. Another wasted contract. Now what do we do? Everyone wants to scream that the sky is falling every time a player goes down. It's not so much the defense of his ability. The guy, believe me, the guy is chiseled out of stone. The guy came out and said himself, right? Stanton makes the statement, if I was able to get more playing time, there's a possibility I can stay looser and not feel as wound up. Don't worry about staying loose. You just swing the bat as hard as you can and just run until you hurt yourself. That's what the Yankees told them to do. We know that. I know he's not going to be, Ricky Henderson running around the bases. Just play. He plays to his strength. If he's not, we all know he's not a guy that's going to hustle down the line because he's going to pull something. Fuck him. He don't hustle. Well, what do you want? You want him to just be available for his next at bat, or do you want him to hurt himself? Yes. Dev, you're absolutely right. Cashman is mad about Judge and Cole and how's he now. Fact.
That's why he's defensive.
But the fact is, we have to acknowledge that Stanton is a broken player. That's not the debate. He cannot be relied on as a full-time guy anymore. I think we could all agree on that.
No, he's not a full-time player.
Dev brings up. Go ahead.
Makes sense.
Before we switch to the next guy, right? Just remember, keep hitting that fucking heart, right? Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, share this out. Okay. Dev brought up a name, and I want to get into this, and we're going to kind of semi-segue to something else today. What does it say what do you think it says about how that Judge and Cole are being as vocal as they are in these meetings and in these conference calls? Are we going? Are we still expecting? We're hoping for a new Hal Steinbrenner this offseason.
It's not happening. It's the same Hal.
You think it's going to be business as usual?
It is. Of course it is. What about Joel Sherman asked Hal Steinbrenner about Brian Cashman's comments?
Yes.
He says, Hal Steinbrenner appreciated Brian Cashman's passionate Yankee defense, minus the cussing. Hal Steinbrenner did not love the language, but he did appreciate the sentiment expressed last week in Yankees Brian Cashman's feisty and obscenity-heavy defense of the baseball operations department. In an email exchange, the Yankees owner wrote, "While I don't condone the cussing, I do like the passion. There are too many false narratives out there about our organization being pushed by uninformed and uninvolved people. It is needless to say frustrating." So, Hal Steinbrenner is going after the fans and the media again, just like Brian Cashman. The two of them are in cahoots. It's a fact. Brian Cashman went to Hal Steinbrenner, and Hal Steinbrenner's like, you're right. It's terrible, right? There are no false narratives with the Yankees. Stop this nonsense that there's a false narrative going out. There is no false narrative. It's just you don't like the narrative. That's it. That's it. The Yankees don't like the narrative, so they blame the media and the fans. I don't think there's a false narrative out there. This is a very heavily analytics-driven team. Facts. Aaron Judge doesn't really like the use of the way that we use our analytics. Facts, because he said it himself, right? Aaron Boone looks a little bit lost. Facts, right? The fans are furious. Facts. And people are underperforming under Brian Cashman and the organization. Facts, right? There's no false narrative out there. Our batting average has dropped to about 200. One of the worst hitting teams in the majors. Facts. They've misallocated their resources. Facts. There is not a narrative out there which is incorrect. And Cashman doesn't have a hold of his own organization because players are quite openly unhappy with certain situations going on behind the scenes, namely Aaron Judge. Right? What is this false narrative shit? There isn't a false narrative. It's just they don't like the narrative because it doesn't look good on them. Right? So I don't really give a shit whether they like it or not. I don't think there's a false narrative out there. So Hal and Cashman are as bad as each other. They really are. They're as bad as each other. You could even make the argument that Hal Steinbrenner's comments were worse than Brian Cashman's comments. And I could say that because Hal Steinbrenner promised big changes, and when you promise big changes and deliver fucking nothing, then that's on you. Right?
Yep.
Cashman is always going to defend his ass because he's an arrogant SOB, right? He's incredibly arrogant. He's narcissistic. We know every trait, right? That's Cashman. Hal Steinbrenner employs him, right? Hal Steinbrenner pays him handsomely to fucking screw up this organization. And that's on Hal, right? And Hal is afraid to fire Aaron Boone. I don't think Hal's that convinced about Aaron Boone because if he was, he would say so. So he asks people. Oh, he asked Andy Petty. He asked Nick Swisher. What do you think about Aaron Boone? What do you think they're going to say? You know? Well, I asked Aaron Judge. What do you think of Aaron Boone? What do you think he's going to say? Right? I mean, Aaron Boone is a likable, affable, nice guy. He's never going to make anybody think, he ain't it. Right? You need to have the balls and the gumption yourself as an owner to say this team isn't playing that well for him, not playing that hard for him. I'm seeing issues here. I need to make a change, right? I need to do it on my own volition. I don't need to ask people. So I'm sorry. This idea that there's a false narrative out there is not true, Hal. To be honest, you guys are the ones that are giving up the false narratives.
Yeah, they're the ones that blowing our smoke up our ass every all season and every trade deadline. But no, we what do we know? I mean, come on. We've forgotten more baseball than he's even learned. You know, because he just sat there and just sat on Daddy's money. Come on, he's got to be smarter than that. If he would have come out and says, "Look, while I admire Cashman's frustration, while I recognize his frustration, I admire his passion to improve this club. I still don't condone the language that was used, and I'm going to leave it at that." You know what? I think Hal should hire me as his PR guy, and I could flip this whole thing the way he talks. No, it's almost like every time he's at a press conference, he's like that high school kid that's got to get that 100-word essay. So they put a bunch of filler in there. But when he puts the filler in there, he ends up putting his foot in his mouth instead. That's Hal. Cashman, he's got both feet in his mouth and one up his ass. But Hal's still the owner of the team. Hal's the business guy. He's got to learn when to shut up. It's don't always say what's on your mind. Keep some shit close to the vest, or word it in a way.
Well, I think worse than that, man. Why is he defending the indefensible? That's what I'm pissed at. Stop defending the indefensible. There is no defending Cashman's comments. If Hal really wants to win the fans, that's what you have to say. I don't think that was the right look. We've talked about it. Something like that, right? We've talked about it. Listen, we're frustrated. We lost. There's a lot of feelings that needed to be said, right? Then you could leave it at that. Fine, right? But I didn't really like the way it came across. That's it. But to defend him, going, "Oh, there's a lot of false narratives out there," that's what pisses me off, because once again, that plays into this Yankee shit. Because this is the Yankee propaganda. On an annual basis, the Yankee propaganda is, this is a false narrative. You guys are idiots. We're smart, right? And it's an annual basis, right? And it's the same shit. I don't think other organizations do that. Other organizations don't send out this propaganda. And we get it on an annual basis with the Yankees. And they've got nothing to back it up. They've got nothing to back it up. What is it, this false? I want to know what this false narrative is that they're talking about. You can't just talk in general nonsense going, there's false narratives out there. What is this false narrative? That the Yankees are analytically driven? That's a fact, right? Now, whether they're overly analytically driven or under analytically driven, it doesn't matter. They're analytically driven, right? There's no argument there. So what is this false narrative that Hal Steinbrenner and Brian Cashman are concocting in their heads? I don't think it exists. The only people that are talking false narratives are them, because they're blaming us. They're blaming the media and blaming other teams. Look at your own shit. Own your own shit.
I'm gonna get to this comment here. This question from Jared, but I want to go back up to D-Rod. D-Rod's comment before we switch it up. Well, sports is the only business that customers tell the owner/manager what to do all the time. To a degree, that's the phantom of it. We all know the full word of fan is fanatic. Fanatics are lunatics, right? We're lunatics for our team. It doesn't matter. Look, it's a 162-game season. We lose the first game, we get all fucking bent out of shape. Like the season's over. It's the nature of it. That's the nature of a sports fan. If a player's available that can help you win, which is the object of sports, is to be the winner, we want that guy. And we're all going to go, no, you got to get that guy. You got to get that guy. When you have an owner, this is not the owner of the Pirates. This is the owner of the Yankees. The financial ability is there to make proper moves to improve your club. If they neglect to go for the big ticket guy because they just want a penny pinch and keep more money in their pocket, That's where we get aggravated. That's where we get pissed off. That's why we say sell the team. That's why we say get a new GM in here. They're ignoring they're ignoring the ability to fix the club and get us to that championship caliber organization, the fully operational Death Star. They don't know why we're so pissed off. You know,
Well,
we're
is,
turning the
man,
corner, we're
just
turning the
about how much
page.
we
You know,
spend.
we're savages in the
For me,
fucking
it's not
box.
about how much we spend. It's about how you
It's how
put
we
together
spend
a
it.
decent roster. And Boone and Cashman and Boone and Hal have not put together a decent roster. A completely, fully decent roster. There's always going to be something missing. There's always something missing. Last year, there was no left fielder, right? I mean, all I'm asking is to put together a good roster and stop blaming
That's all
us.
we want.
Stop blaming the fans. Stop blaming the weather. Stop blaming this, that, and the other. And stop blaming injuries. Fucking stop this injuries nonsense. If you keep trading and signing people that are injured, and then you blame them for being injured, that's on you. That's not on us. That's not on the media, and that's not on frickin' the Easter Bunny. It's on you. Own it.
Yeah, no, I see where you're coming from, D-Rod. I really do. This is why, and I think we might have to revisit what a show we did before we were doing the live streams, where we put our proposals out of how we would change the game. Because one of the things that we discussed, and we're going to revisit this with Rob, where I said they need a salary floor. I think because the revenue streaming has gotten abusive in the small markets. So we'll revisit that. And I think that'll put a little more of my point of view in a better perspective. Before we do sign off. Yep. And and that is the narrative amongst all of us. We know that they spend the money. Nobody's calling them cheap. They're just stupid with their money.
They really are. And
You know what I mean?
that's why we're annoyed at Brian Cashman for being defensive about it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
And then, because then when we call them out on it.
Instead of blaming us and blaming the player, how about look at yourself? You're the one that's acquiring the player. And let's just circle back to the beginning of this podcast, what this podcast is all about before we sign off. The whole point of this is that Brian Cashman is not holding himself accountable. He's blaming everybody and everything but himself. And how about a bit of public accountability? You know, this move hasn't worked. This decision hasn't worked. We are aiming to fix it. If you just say those things, that would make a huge difference to this fan base. But you can't talk to people like they're idiots. You can't do it and expect that we're just going to pony up. Like, this is what the organization does. They call us stupid. They call the media stupid. They call everybody involved in the Yankees fanship or whatever stupid, right? And then they're like, oh, pay us $700 to go to a game and buy all our freaking merchandise and buy our chicken buckets and all this stuff, right? Buy our season tickets, right? Buy this, buy that, buy the other thing, right? Oh, and pay that incredible amount of money for parking, right? And pay all that stuff. But you guys are a bunch of freaking idiots. And you're not allowed to ask us questions. And you're not allowed to question why this team doesn't win, right? That's for us to know and for you to never find out. And that's the way that Brian Cashman comes across, right? And that's why I'm pissed off, right? You treat us like adults, you treat us like human beings, and you will have a happier fan base, right? There are fan bases out there that aren't that mad that their team isn't that great, right? Chicago Cubs fans are happy, they're chilling, right? But to be honest, I don't think the Cubs organization goes after their own fan base, telling them they're idiots and telling them they're morons, right? How about just treat us with respect, and we'll pay through the nose to watch your organization. But if you demand that we pay through the nose to watch the organization, and then you treat us like shit, and then you do nothing to improve the team, that's on you. Cashman is a horrifying general manager. Horrible.
Yep. So let's get to Jared's comment, because he did ask when we think the first signing will happen. What do you think?
I think Yamamoto will be the first signing. I do think he's going to go to the Yankees. I think Yamamoto and the Yankees will work out.
No, he was asking when do you think the Yankees will make that first move?
When Yamamoto signs, that's it. I don't know when he's going to sign. Maybe a couple of weeks. I don't know, but I think that'll be the first move. I think it'll be a big ticket deal. For Jared's comments, tickets are down 50%. They'll need to make something happen. So I'm going to say within the next 2-3 weeks, I think they're going to get Yamamoto done, and then they're going to stick their necks out like peacocks, and use that as a narrative that we're all morons and angry for no reason.
Yeah, I think the first move will be Yamamoto. I think it's going to happen right before the winter meetings. I know Brad just put in the comments after the winter meetings, but I think it's going to be before, and then that's when they're all going to try to reassess the market for the second half of the offseason.
Yeah.
That's my guess. I think it's going to be right before the winter meeting.
Well, we should definitely, in the next podcast, discuss the Soto situation, because on Michael K show, they're basically saying it's a fact he's going to get traded this offseason, and there's
no more media games. Yep.
So, I mean, that's the good news, right? We can rant and we can scream about Brian Cashman, right? He is a horror of a man, arrogant, egotistical, unaccountable, everything you don't want in a general manager. But luckily, he's got tons of money at his disposal, and he's a pretty decent negotiator, right? As long as he's not negotiating bad trades. And free agency, he tends to get his guy, right? So I trust he's going to get Yamamoto.
Oh, I want to throw something real quick before we sign off. Did you hear any of the Carlos Mendoza interview? Did you hear his introduction at all?
I didn't.
There was one thing I'm going to bring up from it. They asked him, who he mentored, who was his biggest mentor. It wasn't Bohm.
Of course it wasn't.
Rob Thompson.
Oh.
He shouted out Rob Thompson. The guy that was supposed to get the job over Bohm. Just putting that out there. So
brilliant point, Tats. None of that is even being mentioned. So you're telling me that his actual manager, it wasn't his mentor, it was Rob Thompson, who we should have hired all along. If
I heard that, I was like,
everybody in this chat, everybody that watches us about the Yankees, nothing will. That's it.
Yep.
Rob Thompson. And if he's just as amazing, it's not really surprising, but it's illuminating. It's unsurprising, but it is illuminating.
Yeah, he did shout out the Yankees for giving an opportunity as the bench coach and all this other stuff. But yeah, fucking Rob Thompson. I was like, all right. But what do we know? We're just fans,
Yeah, right. Rob Thompson was such an easy choice, man. He represents the Yankees. He knows the Yankees. He knows baseball. He's a veteran. Everything you could want. And they chose the dude from ESPN.
Yep. Wild, isn't it, huh? But That's going to wrap things up for us today. Hope everybody did have a good time. Enjoy the rest of your week. And as we always say, hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this video out, continue to drop your comments. You always know where to find us. And as we also say, wear those pinstripes of pride and play hard.